Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinemaniacs, the podcast that tells you what you need to know in the world of film and pop culture. We're your hosts. I'm Alex.
And I'm Keanu, and we have a great episode for today. We'll start by telling you about the films releasing this week,
Then we'll tell you about Smile, rank our favorite horror films.
and then I'll take you through the critically acclaimed, the band, the art house body horror masterpiece. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, Andrei Zulowski's Possession from 1981.
So let's get right into it with the Cinemaniacs Scout. So this week we've got two major films releasing here in Australia on December 12th as we're recording this podcast. They are the animated, funnily enough, Lord of the Rings, The War of Rohirrim. Am I saying that right? I don't know. And Kraven the Hunter. That movie got delayed a few times, but Marvel's back this year, so we'll have to see how they're doing.
Ooh.
You catch any movies this week, Keanu?
Knowing me, I've only really gone my usual path through the old but gold movies of old cinema. So just this morning, I looked at Robert Bresson, very, very, very revered filmmaker from France, around the 60s. Probably the 60s were his best years. Watched probably his most acclaimed film, his most popular, which is I don't even know how to pronounce it. Alhazred Balthazar.
That's all right. We're not doing a French class today. It's okay if you get it wrong.
Yeah.
I can't relate. I think the only films I watched this week was I watched Moana with some mates the other night. Wasn't great. Gotta say. Maybe I'm just too old to watch kids movies, but it's not the same. No. So in which case, I think we're going to get into Film Spotlight. Okay, so in this week's Film Spotlight, we are talking about Smile, which is one of my favorite horror films and arguably the film that got me into horror. I remember Keanu and I watched this at a cinema here in Sydney, in cinemas, which was a lot of fun. So it's a 2022 American psychological supernatural horror film written and directed by my main man Parker Finn in his feature directorial debut. It's a follow-up to another film that Keanu and I watched together. It's a short film called Laura Hasn't Slept, which was made in 2020. And I think one of the really cool things about it is, unlike when most films are turned from short film into long film, into feature film, rather than just being a remake, it's almost like a sequel. Like, I'm not sure if any of you guys watch Night Swim, but in Night Swim, they tried to... do you remember that? Like...
Oh, man.
That tells you all you need to know. It was like they were stretching like a really, really thin concept into a really long feature film. Haunted Pool, you can't make an hour and a half movie out of that.
Yeah.
Like, can't take it seriously. But this was done really well because you take the monster from Laura Hasn't Slept and then have that actress be the opening scene of Smile 1 and then turn into a feature film, which I thought worked really well. It stars Sosie Bacon as a therapist who witnessed the bizarre suicide of a patient, Laura, from Laura Hasn't Slept, then experiences increasingly disturbing and daunting experiences that lead her to believe she's experiencing something supernatural.
Ooh.
Do you want to talk about some of the key themes?
So probably the most key theme that we can draw from Laura Hasn't Slept for one, and also Smile, is this theme of mental health. The entity is a stand-in for many mental health conditions. What is real for the protagonist does not seem real to the rest of the cast. And
I think those are all really good points. Like, I think that by making Sosie Bacon's character a therapist, the audience is meant to empathize with her in a way because, she's trying to logic her way out of like what she's witnessing. Like, what she's seeing can't be real, but it's real to her. And then, with the back, I won't spoil it, but with the background of what that character's experienced in the realm of mental health, like, it's impossible for the other characters to take her seriously. And it's really terrifying as you as an audience member to empathize with that and put yourself in that position. Like, I mean, there's some interesting things about this film. Like, this is the first feature film by Parker Finn, and it did really well. Like, I don't know if any of you guys remember the viral marketing campaign, but I think they bought tickets for some actors to sit behind home plate in a baseball game, which was terrifying. Or like, even, I don't know if you saw this, Keanu, they had people sitting behind the Today Show just smiling directly into the camera.
That was intentional.
Yeah, no, that was intentional. They hired actors to do this. Like, incredible marketing and done way better. Yeah, it was done way better than did you watch Truth or Dare?
Did not know.
Yeah, it was a terrible film. Don't watch it, but it had the same gimmick. Yeah. It had the same gimmick where the main character smiles at the camera, and but this was done a lot better. The thing I didn't realize as well, Sosie Bacon, the actress, she's the daughter of Kevin Bacon from Footloose.
Of course, yeah, Kevin Bacon, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't
Great
know they
actor.
were related. Like, you know what? I'm not usually a fan of nepotism in actors and whatnot, but you know what? She killed it. Good on her. Also, Jesse T. Usher played Rose's partner, which was A-Train from The Boys. Some of the YouTubers having some fun with it, like, why doesn't he just run? And I don't know. It was pretty good.
Why doesn't he just run?
Yeah, I don't know. And also Cal Penn. He's one of my favorite actors actually, and he's also from How I Met Your Mother and Designated Survivor. He plays Sosie's boss. Do you want to take us through some of the reactions of the audience to the box office performance, Keanu?
So, Smile scored 22 million in US dollars at the box office on the opening weekend.
Only the first weekend, Jesus!
And this was only off a $17 million budget they had. So, winning after first weekend, that's really impressive for a rookie director. Well, not rookie, but rookie feature film director.
For sure, yeah. In the first weekend, yeah.
Kudos
How did it do
Finn.
worldwide?
Yeah. Scored worldwide 217.4 million.
God damn.
Smile certainly was a standout in comparison to a lot of horror films. Alex and I do go to the cinema and pretty much watch a lot of the horror films coming out, and the vast majority of them are just very under mid. I'd say under mid, not even mid, just under mid. So
I agree, and like I think this is a broader problem with horror films in that, like, one, critics don't take them seriously because they see them as roller coaster filmmaking. You see a jump scare, it raises your heart rate, excites you and whatnot, and then you go back to like a pretty mid plot. I think, and also a lot of horror films that maybe do have good storylines slip through the cracks because of poor marketing. Like, I'm not sure if you remember Abigail. I really enjoyed that. It was the radio silence crew that made Scream 5, but the marketing spoiled the biggest plot twist of the film. So, the marketing department shot what was, critically, what I think to be a really good film, in the foot a bit there. The other thing, it had a 79% score on Rotten Tomatoes, which I honestly thought was a bit low, and I think that might be lower than Smile too, but we'll have to fact check that.
And it's still pretty high, yeah.
Sorry, what was that?
It's still pretty high compared to the other horror films coming out at the same time.
Yeah, very true. Like, definitely was a
standout. Definitely was a standout when we watched it.
Exactly, and then it had a 77% audience score. You have anything else you want to add about Smile?
I think what Smile set apart from the other horror films, what made it so much better, was its strength didn't lie in the execution of jump scares. The strength lied in that film. It was in the themes, the mental health. The true horror of horror films isn't in its ability to startle you. It's really your ability to really unsettle you and put you in a very vulnerable position and understand how vulnerable we really are, especially to our own minds when we fall victim to really our own psychological
trauma.
Yeah.
I think that's this is probably my favorite thing about Smile 1 is that it combines the two main kind of horror films. It is, because it's psychological thriller and it has the jump scare element, it combines the roller coaster filmmaking with being really strong story-wise. Like, I think that's why I enjoyed it so much.
Absolutely, yeah. And not even that goes without mentioning just how unique as well some of the scenes are executed. Parker Finn has this kind of little signature camera move where the camera slowly pans across. First we get the character's reaction to the horror in front of them, then we slowly reveal it, which is like something that I don't think I've ever seen before Parker Finn.
I completely agree, yeah. It works better than you could have just a shot of the character, witnessing it, and then a direct cut straight to the horror. But the fact that you have to sit with it and wait for the camera to reveal it, I think it adds to that kind of suspense. And the other thing, you would know the film term for this, but he has a lot of shots on an angle.
Yes, Dutch angle shots.
Yes, he uses Dutch angle. I don't know. I thought that was really cool. There's also some elements from The Shining, a ton of shots. You get an overhead shot of a car going through a forest, and I just look at the camera and I'm like, The Shining.
The Shining.
Yeah, and then also the other ones that I really enjoyed is often the camera will just be flipped upside down. And I think that's another metaphor. I'm probably not critically smart enough to figure that one out. You know what? Leave that in the comments. You should be able to comment on this episode. Tell us what you think about Smile. And I think with that, we're going to move on to our next segment after the break, which will be Ranking Roundup.
Oh boy. Looking forward to it.
Welcome back to Cinemaniacs, and we're going into Ranking Roundup, the segment that tells you our favorite films in a given category. So today, You want to take a guess what we're ranking? We're ranking horror films.
Woohoo!
So I'm going to let Keanu start. What is your 5th favorite horror film, Keanu?
Kicking it off at number 5, pretty strong. Probably a really popular, very popular film from the 70s. To the point where they did make a remake in 2018. You probably already guessed from the years. That is Dario Argento's very wacky, surreal horror, Suspiria.
Oh, I thought you were going. I'm sorry, I haven't seen this film. You want to tell us, like, give me the elevator pitch. Why should I watch it?
So, Suspiria is just its real standout is the cinematography. I know it's a cliche little film buff comment on all films, but really, Suspiria from 1977 is just so appealing to the eye. It's just so much light, and the production design, the lighting, the angles. It's all so appealing. I just love it.
I see. So it's a good thing for future maybe cinematographers to watch and learn from. I'm gonna go through. So my 5th one is a film we saw together, Keanu. It was Abigail.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Like, the only reason why it's not higher up on the list, again, won't spoil it, is because the twist of the first third of the film was spoiled by the marketing. They're in a haunted house, the characters start dropping like flies, and the way the film's made, you're meant to question it, be like, why are all these characters going missing? What's happening to them? But, me and Keanu being responsible cinema goers, we watch the trailer first, know what we're getting ourselves into, and it's all completely spoiled for us. So that's a lesson to future marketing types in film, not to spoil your premise in the marketing, okay?
Do you think, Alex, Abigail would have been higher on your list of top 5 if it hadn't been spoiled in the trailer?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, because, like I said, the first third of that film was completely wasted. It's trying to build suspense and does a really good job of it. And, I love the guy. I think they're called Radio Silence, the guys that made Scream 5. They're great. And it had a really good cast. It had Melissa Barrera from, again, Scream 5. It was like reuniting the whole crew for me. But you can't get invested in it if you know something that the characters don't in a way that's not intended by the filmmaker. It's not dramatic irony. It's just irony. You know what I mean?
I think it would have been more effective if we just had no idea that the little girl was... Sorry, guys, spoilers. The little girl is a vampire. I feel like they could have led more with the trailer that they've come in to this house, they've broken in, and they're now going to hold the girl for ransom. Is that
absolutely? You're absolutely right. Yeah, the Abigail's chained up, and the characters have no idea that she's the one. Like, it just doesn't work for me.
It can always use foreshadowing for that, but like not even like directly, and then out of nowhere, but not really out of nowhere, but with foreshadowing, you could have just been a complete shock moment after she completely flips the power dynamics.
I agree. It could have been a great reveal, but it's a missed opportunity. All right, what's number 4 on your list, Keanu?
Number 4 is a real classic, another classic from Suspiria. Probably a lot more well known, being from the United States. In the United States, I need to fact check this. Is it?
I'll take your word for it, but you're welcome to check.
Sure, it is. Please don't kill me if I'm wrong. But it is from 1973. It's William Friedkin's horror masterpiece, The Exorcist.
Okay, yeah, that's valid. But only 4th. I'm interested to see how the rest is going to go.
I think what stood out, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
What stood out for this film, for me, was this one scene in particular, and it's the dream sequence, and it's when the character of Damien, the priest, he's having this dream of his mother, and just how that scene is shot, and how it's paced, and the images within it, it just perfectly captures a nightmare, and it's just and it really is the most unsettling scene that no one talks about. So that's really a standout, and being an aspiring filmmaker myself, I've drawn a lot of inspiration from that one scene in this film.
You've heard it here first, folks. You should watch The Exorcist. Okay, I'm gonna let you guess my 4th one, Keanu. So this is a director that you love, and it's a horror film. Those are your 2 clues. What is it?
It's The Shining, surely.
It's The Shining. You got it.
Yeah.
So The Shining, Stanley Kubrick. It was actually the very first Stanley Kubrick film that I ever watched. I think it's a true psychological thriller. It doesn't rely on jump scares too much. Based on a book, which is definitely worth reading. And I think, like most horror films, like all good horror films, like Smile, the scariest thing is not some kind of monster. It's another person, because that makes it real. That makes it grounded. That makes it something that could happen to you.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and I think, like so many of Stanley Kubrick's films, isolation plays a key role. All right, what's number 3 on your list, Keanu?
Well, I think we've already gone through it just then. It's The Shining.
It's The Shining. Okay, well, we don't need it. Amazing. So, maybe we could coordinate lists, yeah. Okay, 3 for me. Osgood Perkins, 2024 film, Longlegs.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
I
Wow.
I thought Longlegs was a really good film cinematographically. Is that a word? Cinematography? Either way, like the first shot when you're seeing the snow-covered house and the little pops of color, great. And also, the 4:3 aspect ratio at the start worked really well. I laughed out loud when Nick Cage's character goes, "I should have worn my long legs." Like, what's that thing we keep? What is he saying? Like, he's like,
Oh, what
"There she is!"
Oh, there she is.
This has been like an in joke that we've told for a long time. Yeah, like it's a horror film. It makes you laugh. My only gripe with it, won't spoil it, ending was kind of a letdown. Felt like a little bit of a cop out. And I think we predicted it pretty early on that that's where it was going.
Funny you say that, because really, that's probably the case, because I really don't remember the ending at all.
Exactly, yeah. If
So
it's
it must have
forgettable,
been-
it wasn't effective, right?
Probably the most
what
memorable
about-
from Longlegs is Nicolas Cage, of course. His performance as
Oh.
Longlegs. Oh
His
my!
performance was great. Yeah, I love, and like, is it him? I think they both do it when they have their hands on the steering wheel and they're just screaming. Like, I've recreated that on my drives to work. Like, I don't know about you guys. Ah! All right, what's number 2 on your list? We're getting to the top.
Oh yeah. So this one has a very, very special place in my heart. Probably the film that made me fall in love with horror and experimental horror and original indie horror films. It is the very infamous David Lynch debut horror film, Eraserhead from 1977.
Okay, this is a film you've recommended to me a few times and I haven't had a chance to watch myself. So that's probably something I'm going to have to get on. Do you want to tell us a little bit about it?
This film is by far the most original horror film. It's just so... I mean, it was just it was complete. It's just complete on its own, standalone. It's
Okay.
got
What kind of if you had to put it in a category, like, is it psychological thriller, monster horror? Like, how would you describe it as?
Oh wow.
Or is just that? Or is it that out there that it can't be put into a box?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
It's
okay.
almost the closest to it really is a horror comedy. Like, I found it like so just so out of the blue, just so out of pocket. A lot, like, every second of the movie is just so out of pocket. Like, you just couldn't help but laugh. But
Okay.
also, it's just super unsettling at the same time as well. Like, watching it fully. And the first time I watched it, there haven't been many films that have immersed me quite as strongly. I really just sat and watched through this film purely 90 minutes straight.
That's great.
I think I blinked maybe once the whole time.
That's again, if you're just staring at the screen, that's how you know it's a good film. All right.
Yeah.
I think this one's going to surprise some of the viewers. My second favorite horror film of all time is Smile. Smile's not my favorite. I love Smile. It's one of the films that got me into horror, but I don't know. It can't top one that the first on my list. But what's first on your list first? The number one.
My number one?
Your number one, yep.
My number one film. Oh,
Here
boy.
we go.
Fell in love with it the second I watched it. When I was like first introduced to it, I think maybe a year and a half ago. I already mentioned it earlier this episode. It's Andrei Zulawski's 1981 body horror, Possession.
Of course, that's completely valid. And you know what? We're going to lead a little bit into that later in the episode because Parker Finn's directing a remake, and we're going to talk about that a bit at the end of the film. My favorite horror film of all time, the very first horror film I ever watched in cinemas, it was Scream 5. Yeah.
Okay.
So, the reason, a young Alex, I work at a cinema. I saw the poster on the wall. They weren't marketing this film as Scream 5, Keanu. The poster literally just had a picture of Ghostface on it, and it said the words Scream. Right?
Mm.
And then I go into the film, and I have the first 4 films spoiled for me because it reveals the killers in all the rest of them. But I really enjoyed it. It's horror comedy, it's horror satire, and I think horror, like probably more than any other genre, has a ton of really well-used and well-known tropes. Which I think Scream is really, really good at exploiting. Like, my favorite, I think the scene that encapsulates this perfectly is you get one of the characters, I forget his name, it's just in his house and the door's been left open and the killer's inside the house. And then you get the music builds up, music builds up, music builds up. Maybe the camera is just only on the inside of a fridge and the fridge door closes and there's nothing there. And the tension's relieved. And then it goes again and again until you finally see the killer. And then it goes after him. Like, one of my old managers, she once told me that she used to play scream in the background, and then every time there was a fake jump scare, she would drink. I'm not game enough to try that, but I think it's a good idea.
Oh, jeez.
Do you have any honorable mentions?
Ooh.
It's all good if you didn't. I've got a few.
I would say, off the top of my head, 1955, directed by, don't know the name right now. Quick Google of it, but certainly a standout film.
This is the production quality you get from the
Charles
Cinemaniacs
Lawton's
podcast.
one and only film, the only film he ever directed. The Night of the Hunter from 1955.
Okay, honorable mention. I had 4 honorable mentions. They were The Substance, which I watched this year. It was pretty good. I think it was inspired by Possession. Talk to Me, Australian horror. I didn't enjoy it all that much, but the critics loved it, so it makes this list. Megan, the robot horror. Yeah, that was pretty creepy, but like also memeable. And probably the scariest film I've ever watched, Keanu. You know the one. It's La La Land.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has to make the list.
La La Land is terrifying.
Yep, that's ranking roundup, folks. And then the last segment right after the break. Welcome back to Cinemaniacs, folks. We're back, and Keanu is going to tell us about Possession.
Yes, my most beloved horror film. Probably. Yes, it is. I cannot. I have a trouble putting like things at number 1 in favorite films, but I think horror film, it just stands alone just a little bit more than everything else. So, Possession. Without spilling much, it is a body horror that explores a dying marriage. Initial skepticisms about fidelity evolve and turn to reveal something much more sinister.
Ooh,
that's all you're getting. Must go watch it.
Okay, yeah, we can't spoil it. You have to make people go watch it. Exactly, yeah.
One thing I adore about this movie is just how ugly it is. That's a word I'll give it. It's just in a weird way. It's just so torturous to watch, but also you just can't look away. I think the film is made in a close to perfect way when coupled with the content of the story and the themes it tackles. And in one word, the story and the way it's told visually is just completely torturous.
Okay.
That's one I give it. If I give one word to Possession, it's just torturous. Zulowski is known for his unique pairing of excessive and theatrical compositions and character performances. Things are just high octane. Like he exploits his actors to make the most physical performances possible. Just full throttle everything. Just super hysterical. And it's so good to watch.
Incredible. Okay.
And with those, and with the craft as well, the way he tells the way he captures this stuff on screen with all these unconventional camera movements and sound design and camera techniques as well. He perfectly captures and displays these overwhelming emotions that these characters endure, as well as the world they endure. And another thing, I think what makes it so good as well overall is just it's an extremely personal piece from the director Andrzej Zulowski, because it does take right from his own experiences falling out of his own marriage, and also his Never mind, I won't spoil it.
Oh, okay. You got close to spoiling it there. So the other reason why I thought it was worth talking about is because my favorite horror director, Parker Finn, after, the absolutely incredible Smile 2, has been greenlit by Paramount, I believe, to make a remake of Possession. So I need, between now and when that film gets made, I'm going to have to go watch this original Possession and then compare it to Parker Finn's reimagination. Now, I'm sure he's going to do a great job, and I hope he does a great job, so that way Paramount entrusts him to make the culmination of Smile 3. I need him to do well in Possession, Keanu, so that Smile 3 gets greenlit.
I'm seeing this. I mean, I love Parker Finn. He's coming out of the ranks as probably the most go-to horror film director out there.
I think he's really promising.
You're in for it. But I think Possession is a really high mountain to climb because of everything I just mentioned, like how personal it is and how perfect the story and storytelling, that the relationship between the two is. And I think it'll take Parker Finn to step up maybe 1 or 2 steps, or maybe even 3.
Oh yeah, like he's not working with his own source material anymore. He has to honor this original IP. Like,
Oh
he
yeah,
can't. Yeah, it'll be really interesting to see if he can pull it off. I think he can.
it's
But
tough to tackle. Yeah, I really hope he does.
yeah. Well, you know what, Parker Finn, you've heard it here first. We want you to clutch possession, and then get on to making Smile 3 for me. Okay.
Oh yeah,
Are we happy with that? You've spoken. You've got everything you want to get off your chest about possession.
I think that is everything. Yeah, without
Okay.
going too much more. Yeah, the more I go into it, I'll probably just spoil the whole movie. So
The more
I'll
likely
leave it at that.
All right. So after that segment, we'll see you after the break for the Hall of Fame. Welcome back to Cinemaniacs and our final segment of the day, the Hall of Fame. So this segment's going to be a recurring thing. I'm not sure. I put a lot of effort into making this website on Google Sites. If you go up to the top, you can click Hall of Fame, and each week, Keanu and I will give you one pick from our personal favorite films that we think you need to be a true cinephile.
And by the end, there will just be a gallery of probably the best of what cinema has to offer, really, from right to its birth, way back till now and today.
Yeah, we want it to be varied. So this week we've kind of taken a horror theme. Next week, who knows? Maybe it'll be a Christmas movie theme because we are getting close to Christmas.
Rather fitting, yes.
You'll have to tune in next week to come have a look. I believe if you're on Apple Podcasts, you can go underneath the episode and just click the link. If you're on Spotify, I'm not sure. You'll have to figure that one out for yourself.
Good luck.
All right, so this week, my pick to go on the Wall of Fame is Smile. I'm giving it a 5 out of 5. One of my favorite horror films ever. Keanu, what are you going to give it out of 5?
I do give it a 4. I will say, Alex, if there's one thing I have over the edge with you, is I've seen a lot more really, really good horror films. That's not, yeah. So I give it 4.5. That's not to say that it's, that 4.5 is still pretty high.
Bad film, but there's just better stuff out there, right?
But I think if I've seen the amount of films that you've seen as well, probably the same, I'd probably give it 5 as well, because it was really good.
Okay, I think that's valid. And then I haven't seen your film, but what's your pick for the week, Keanu?
You've guessed it. Possession.
Possession. All right, what are you going to give that out of 5?
Easy 5 out of 5.
It's a 5 out of 5, ladies and gentlemen. I haven't seen it. I'm going to go away and watch it, and then I'll update the website with my pick, with my rating of it.
Here's one more thing I'll say about it.
Yeah.
It's not a perfect film, but it is perfect in the way the story is told. I'll leave it with that.
And I've almost forgotten the final segment for the podcast is the movie quote quiz. Keanu, each week, this is a surprise. You didn't know about this. I'm gonna give you a quote from a film, and you have to tell me which film it's from. This is going to be really difficult some weeks. I think I picked a hard one this week because it's a pretty obscure film. Some weeks it's going to be easy. Some of it's going to be something you've seen. But your quote for this week, you ready? It is, want a good life? It's not that complicated. Tell the girl you love her.
Oh my God.
Does he know? Has he seen it?
Dang.
It's not looking good, folks. We need like the Jeopardy music here. Dun, dun,
I've been exposed.
He's a fake film fan. Go cancel him. You don't have a guess for me? Come on, throw something out.
I can see. Casablanca.
No, it wasn't Casablanca, but that is great. It was 2019's Yesterday. It's that rom-com where everyone forgets the Beatles except one guy.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, I like that film a lot. It's on my letterbox. So, thank you for tuning in this week, folks.
Thank you so much.
Week. Check out our website. We've got both of our letterbox linked in there. You know, 2 cinephiles. Come learn from us. Come explore. There's also a Google form that you can use to give us suggestions, films you think you should watch. I think also you can put some comments in the Spotify. And last but not least, make sure you give us 5 stars on whatever podcast platform, especially Apple Podcasts, because it really helps. Yeah, it really helps the algorithm.
And our main mission is to really just expand people's horizons of cinema and not just look at, and this is the problem that I saw in having gone to film school, that our teacher in probably the first semester, the first term, gave us an AFI, the American Film Institute's top 100 movies. Don't get me wrong. Every single film on that list is amazing. At least what I'm seeing. I've seen most of them. But problem is, they're only films from either the UK or from America. And there are just, or the United States, sorry. And there are just so many films that are left out from that list. Yeah. You just cannot rely on it as the top 100 greatest films. Because there are just so many great films from all across the world outside of England, the UK, or the United States, So I think one of our missions, especially mine here, is to broaden your horizon and give a scope and put a spotlight on films that are just not appreciated enough for what they are and what they've done to cinema as an art form.
You've heard it here first. We're here to broaden your horizons. Thank you so much for listening to Cinemaniacs, and we'll be back next week. Tune in then. See you, Keanu.
See you then. See you, Alex.